Okay, everybody. Well, it's October 6th. I bet everybody is basking in the glow of the fall Brookline events back on September 24th. Still playing around with all the toys that made it come away with. It was a nice meet, great weather, maybe a little blustery, but otherwise it's nice today in New England as you find. And I think everybody who did make it seemed to have a good time, from what I could tell. But anyway, before I guess the first item I'd like to start with is any general announcements, any upcoming club events, anything, Larry, you want to announce, or also any general announcement members like to make on things we should be aware of.
Well, a couple of things. Let me mention the Collings Foundation Battle for the Airfield that's coming up this coming weekend in Stowe. They have an incredible, for people who like World War II stuff, they have an absolutely incredible show that they do twice a day, twice on Saturday, twice on Sunday. The airfield is attacked by German soldiers, and there are probably 50 or 100 reenactors, many tanks, and a great deal of weaponry on display. They bury dynamite in the airfield airstrip, and as tanks come up to the appropriate point, very carefully choreographed, they blow up the dynamite, and this incredible cloud of dirt and everything covers the tanks, and it's an absolutely mind-blowing show. You have to wear earplugs because they fire a German 88, which is a huge cannon-like anti-aircraft gun that'll just blow your socks off, literally. And it's a great show. If you just look up collingsfoundation.com or something like that, you'll find all the details, how to get there and all. And the following weekend, just like to remind you that the Near Fest starts on Friday. And I think they let people in at 9 o'clock in the morning, and Friday is the day to be there if you possibly can. Saturday is a little slower. I never understood that. Always figured people would have to work on Friday, but Friday's the hot day to be there. If you want to see yours truly spouting off again about things, I'm going to be actually disassembling an Enigma machine, a Russian Fialka machine, and an American M209 in public at the show. And I'm going to let people literally have hands-on as I do that. So you get, it's going to be entitled Inside Enigma, Fialka, and an M209. You'll be able to climb right in there with me and see what the guts of an Enigma machine are like. And then on Sunday, the wonderful MIT Flea Market is in its last meeting for this year. October is the last meeting. They let the public in at 9 a.m. And if you look up Flea at MIT, you'll get all the details on that. It's in Cambridge. Free parking, the streets are open, there are no parking meters, so you can park easily and come in and enjoy the show. And then they get about 200 dealers, so it's a very, very large show. And I'd say probably maybe 20 or 30% of the dealers have old radios for sale. So I hope to see you there. That's sort of a great way to end up the season.
Oh, that's great. Hey, Tom, just to be clear, is that 2 weekends from now, the 22nd, or will it be actually the next weekend beyond after this one?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's the weekend following. Near Fest is the weekend following this one, starting on Friday, and the MIT is on Sunday of that weekend. Thanks for clarifying that, John.
Just one thing on the Collings. It's also called the American Heritage Museum in Hudson. So you look that up also.
Yeah, and just to add to Tom's point there, it's a great museum. They have also the great unusual armor, roll out, but all of it, nearly all of it, is operational. It's in, it's not a static museum. and on top of it is, that event is well worth going to because it. That's strange. Is that the event is well worth. In fact, they have vintage military radios usually out. In fact, Tom, I know you've been there with the Enigma, your Enigma tent and so forth, if memory serves. Because I remember seeing it before I knew you, before I even joined the club. So I didn't recognize until that's why I remember. Oh, I remember seeing Tom before I knew him. Highly recommend it. It's well worth the museum, even if you went to a different weekend beyond this, well worth seeing. And they do have military, vintage radios. Not a lot, but they have some neat stuff that are tied into communication. So you can get a little bit of vintage electronics in you as well. But,
yeah, quite a number of the German reenactors have genuine German field radios. There's one guy with a pretty good replica of an Enigma there, and the German camp is absolutely accurate in all respects.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, they didn't want me to set up an Enigma there because they said the Enigma was not used in the field, and I had a discussion with them about that, but I let them have their own thing, and I generally, when I go, I set up in a separate area anyway.
Great. Well, definitely worth it.
I saw pictures of Enigma machines right inside armored personnel carriers used during World War II.
Yeah, they were used in armored personnel carriers, and they were used in field installations, and they were used, of course, in main headquarters. They're all over the place. The German military used Enigma machines to encode all of their secret messages. And for the most part, if those messages were being sent by telephone or messenger, they could never be intercepted. It was only when they sent the messages by radio that they could be intercepted and go and try to crack the code.
But oh, hey, it's Bob Bennett is there. Hello, Bob. Glad you made it.
Thank you. I'm sorry I'm a little late. I got life kind of got in the way, and it's a little bit chaotic around here. We just adopted a second cat, and he has some medical issues, and my wife and I were just attending to that, and I had to run out to the store and get something, and just it's crazy. It's been nuts, and I apologize for not getting back to you sooner.
No, quite all right.
It's been that way around, but I really enjoy being around you guys and listening to your commentary. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoy this.
Well, you're practically a regular, Bob, and if we gotta get you on here more often, you're always welcome anytime.
Well, I hope I'm regular, so I won't need an enema. Or
maybe both.
Yes.
But
Bob, thank you for sharing.
It's an enigma.
Hey, can I make another radio swap meet announcement? I know it's a couple of mentioned. There is one coming up this Sunday. I guess that's the 10th in North Haven, Connecticut. It's the Nutmeg Ham Fest.
Okay.
And I would get to it for several years now because conflicts. But in the past, it's always been it's kind of on the smaller side, but worth going to. I'll be there.
Good to know. Well, you've been advised. And just to confirm, Gary, is this weekend?
Yeah, it's this Sunday. I think today's the 7th.
Yeah. So,
6th.
No, 6th. Today's the 6th. Sunday, 9th.
It is this Sunday, the 9th.
Yep.
And it's at I don't remember the street address, but it's the Best Western in North Haven, Connecticut. I live like right between Springfield and Hartford, and it's about an hour ride from me, just a straight shot down I-91.
Right. And Hartford is not, it's really not that far from, the metro Boston area. You can be there in about an hour. I don't know, an hour and 15, 20 minutes. I've done it in an hour in my past, but that was usually a little more hurried and aggressive there. But
Boston is 2 hours from where I am.
Okay.
You wouldn't go by to Springfield, Mass and south if you're coming from Boston.
Yeah, typically I would take Route 90 to 84, go to Hartford
Yeah.
that way. And I can get there from my house in about a little over an hour if I take my time. Good to know. Any other announcements before we go hit the next part of our? Larry, is there anything you need to say about the club wise?
I got it.
Yeah. Before I know Noah has something. Noah, actually. jump
Yeah,
on.
I have three things if I can remember them all in my little pea brain. One is club related because I was recently reminded that it's time for everybody to renew their membership. At
Oh,
least
yeah.
that's what I was told. So
No, that is a good point, everybody. This is as good a time as any, because we'll start trying to this issue the reminders periodically for the rest of the year.
yep.
Get
So-
that done.
So that's number one. Number two, I would like to either thirdly or quadruply put in a plug for the Collins Foundation and that museum, and whether anything is going on there or not in terms of the special event. It's just the most amazing thing. When I first discovered that place, I couldn't believe what a hidden treasure that was in Massachusetts. It's every bit as good as anything that like Disney or Epcot or anything ever put together. It's like being inside a living, breathing diorama from the Revolutionary War right up through Desert Storm, with all the equipment and not just communications, but the tanks and the Jeeps, and they have some really knowledgeable volunteers that will answer any questions and explain everything. And it just blew me away the first time that I went there, and it wasn't even one of their special presentations. So anytime you can get there is a good time, and it's even more amazing, as Tom said, when they're putting on one of their live reenactment type displays. There's also a whole separate building where they have a lot of antique automobiles and things that usually on Father's Day or some other kinds of things, they open that up as well. It's not open all the time, but it's just an amazing take for being right here in the middle of New England to have such an amazing thing.
Yeah, I completely agreed.
Funniest thing is you could be walking around and you see a guy and you go and ask him a question and he gives you an answer. Turns out it's Mr. Collins.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, he did all of that show we went to with the Newport 1917 airplane. He did all of the talking to the pilot, and it was very knowledgeable.
Yeah,
That's
good
marvelous.
take.
I agree with Gary. It's fantastic.
Yep. And the third one, on a personal note, I don't know that our club is in a position where we have any kind of centralized archiving, or sometimes I see that some of the things that go on that West Coast club where they seem to own their entire gigantic building and they restore radios and they have all this reference material.
Yeah.
I have something that I need to find a home for before it meets an untimely end. I have a single drawer file cabinet, so just a single drawer file cabinet, and it is full of original Sam's photo facts from about number 108 through about number 400. There are occasional gaps, so it's not every single file or folder from 108 to 400. But it's one full file cabinet drawer, and I can't keep them. So I'm trying to find out something I can do with them where where something bad won't happen to them. And, I know people don't like to store a bunch of paper, and I know as an organization, as a club, we don't have any kind of central depository or repository or whatever the right word is for those. But
Yeah.
if anybody would like to have a bunch of hard copy Sam's photo facts, they're free for the taking. I'm in North Reading, Massachusetts. So, if I got to meet somebody halfway or something like that.
Yeah, nobody's ever put those on a CD, have they?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
I
Well,
know
you
you can go to the Howard W. Sam's website. You can
Yeah.
order any individual one that you want, and there's
Right.
another website that's called Nostalgia Air, where a lot of times you can, whether it's a Sam's or a Riders, you can actually download it for free
Yeah.
with, whatever radio you happen to be working on.
Well,
which
I
is-
know that the library here in Providence, Rhode Island, they have the complete original set of writer manuals.
Yeah, I used to go down into downtown Boston to go to the Boston Public Library, into the
And-
reference library, and go stand at the copy machine and make a copy of the particular
Mhm.
Sam's that I needed for a radio that I was working on. But
Right.
now that you can do all this stuff online, there doesn't seem to be quite as much demand. I'm having a hard time finding
Well, you
somebody
might-
who wants to hold on to these things, but I just
You
can't.
might check with
Yeah.
local libraries. They may
Yep,
take that stuff.
yep,
The Worcester Public Library has access to them all online.
yep.
So if you have a Worcester Public Library card, you can just log into it and download whatever you need. Sam's Photofacts.
Yeah, so that's part of the reason why I don't seem to be able to find a good home for them, but I kind of, I hate to send them to a landfill, but I just simply can't keep them, so.
No, it's a good point.
Indeed.
At least, get the word out, and know
Right.
feel free to throw it out there on the, groups reflector, and just
Yeah.
let people aware, because you might get somebody who, lurking about. It will bring a van, as you say.
Right, or, winter's coming if you got a wood stove, maybe, I don't know.
I know when I worked at the University of Rhode Island, and I discovered one time that in their library, they had up in the atrium, which was an area up near the attic and area, they had the complete set of QSTs from number 1 all the way up
Wow.
to, I think it was all the way up to just short of 2000.
Hmm.
And they had every one of them. And I used to go up there and just browse through those things. And then I discovered that Roger Williams University over in Bristol has the complete set of popular electronics from issue number 1 and radio electronics.
Hmm.
And URI also had all the issues of what was it? The broadcasting magazine. I forget what it was, but they had all that stuff there.
Yeah, well, it was about 10 years ago or so, I rescued these from, a terrible fate, but
Yep.
now I'm looking for someone else to rescue them or rescue me
Well,
from them.
When I was a kid, I worked at a TV shop in Warren, and the guy there retired. And this was many years later. I used to stop in and see him now and then, and he must have had, I don't know, 5 or 6 filing cabinets, 4-drawer filing cabinets,
Yeah.
full of all the SAMs. He had the transistor radios, the CB radios, the TVs, the radios, the automobile radios. He had everything. And he wanted me to take it. And I looked at him and said, I don't know what I would do with them. I have no place to put them.
Right.
And
Well,
I
luckily
don't know
this is
whatever
only
happened.
it's a 1-drawer file cabinet. So it's only like 12 inches by 12 inches by
Yeah,
maybe 2.5 feet, but it can't go with me where I'm going. So it's got to go somewhere.
well, I can't take it. I already have 4.5 file cabinets full.
All right, just throwing it out there.
No, definitely socialize that, Noah.
Yep.
If you can, in terms of, if you could sort of spin it as you take a filing cabinet, of Sam's manuals, and you get a free console.
Yeah, right, exactly.
The
2 free consoles.
AWA has free classifieds in the AWA journal.
Mm.
And I know that somebody would just love those, but I know you want to get rid of them before the deadline for a journal, which it'd probably be 4 or 5 months before that could come out, Noah.
Yep.
Put it on groups.io.
Okay, I'll do that.
We'd like to, hopefully we'll find a home for them one way or another. I'd hate to see the worst case scenario, but
Yep.
good to know.
Well, that's
So
a good idea. No, if you put it on groups, I could then forward it to the AWA group and
Okay,
maybe somebody will gobble it up then.
yeah. I thought about hauling it up to, the last Brookline, but I just couldn't make it there, so. Even if people wanted to browse through and just pull this one or that one or whatever they were currently working on or something that they own, just to make the file cabinet that much lighter, even though it might be less valuable with more and more missing from it, but whatever, we'll do what we can. Thanks.
Sure. Any other announcements, folks, before we go to the next part? Okay.
Nothing here, John.
All right. Let's see. I guess does anyone have any, recent acquisitions, any ongoing projects or items they want to sell, just to give people a heads up before we bring on Bob's video from Kutztown?
Why don't you show your radio?
Hello, Rob. I
Yeah,
bet you do have something.
No, well, it's downstairs. But you could show your radio.
I could show pictures. Rob and I happen to coincide. I'm remote right now, and Rob is remote, and we happen to coincide at the one of the Arizona Antique Radio Club swap meets this past Saturday. And I showed up not expecting to hear someone yell out my name because I knew it. I got on their email and I showed up and I hear John, and I turned around, and you're not used to the context of someone in your own, knowing an antique radio club already there. And there's Rob at the table trying to sell various items that all look pretty appealing. So we had a chance to catch up. So it was a nice way to meet a remote member just because I happened to be here. So at any rate, so I'll just give a quick couple of summary of the show. It was, it was a lot smaller than what we see at Nevic. Okay, so I would say probably there's a sum total of what, I'm going to be generous here and say there was probably 8 to 10 tables. Is that probably right?
That'd be generous. Yeah.
And then, but the neat thing is there is a free, they have instead of I think they probably have like a free table, but they really have what we call like a auction table. And they basically do is they put members just donate things that they want to auction off that are not, from I can tell, not junk. It's stuff that is salvageable and people will bid on. They ran an auction. And so I was there and I was like, well, I don't really shouldn't come back with anything. But I saw this one radio that I said, even maybe my wife would appreciate it. And I'll take it home with me because it was I'll show you, it was a sum total of $5. So the auction goes very quickly. Basically I grabbed, for $2 you buy a paddle, for your auction. And they had and Rob was kind enough, in fact, because I had to run, I actually had things I had to do. And the one radio that I'll show shortly that I was interested in, Rob goes, hey, could you auction that one first? So they auctioned the first one off. I think people were a little bit underprepared anyway. They were just still gathering. So for $5, I ran with the radio and ran out, but basically, but I'll quickly show. It's actually kind of neat in its own way. Let's see here, just bear with me a moment here. Share my screen. Can everyone see this?
Yep.
This is an automatic radio from Automatic Radio Company.
Looks like a lunchbox.
It does. This is from about 1957. And I just saw that the classic late 50s tartan pattern, which I can remember as a kid, my mother having, the thermos with that pattern.
Could you buy that with plaid stamps, by the way?
I did. And also she had a cooler bag. Whenever we went somewhere like a picnic or something, she had it was because my parents were married in 1956. So
yeah, I still got the thermos.
Yeah, she had the thermos, the whole 9 yards. So I saw this and I said, wow, this is in terrific shape. And so I said, you know, I only had $15 on me, because as much as I was gonna pay anyway. And I got it for $5. I was the only bidder. You know, I raised my paddle, I said, and here it is. So, you know, it's from the Automatic Radio Company in Boston, Massachusetts, on 122 Brookline Avenue. Has still, you can see it's a little bit of damage on the layout, but it's basically there. So it's a battery, and it's got AC, and
Got a tuned RF on it.
sorry,
It's got a tuned RF on it.
it does. So
It's got the civil defense markings on it too. On the dial. Face.
okay, oh yeah, absolutely. And I'll show the innards. You know, pretty clean. The radio doesn't work, but you know, that's okay. Hey guys, you still have me? Hey guys, do we still have you?